Hello, viewers at home. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching. Welcome to another episode on Real Men's Talk, where it is sizzling hot, interactive, and transforming. On this episode, we are going to be looking at an interesting and informative topic: the danger of the 24th century parenting. The danger of the 24th century parenting. And I have in the studio my co-hosts who are going to be diving into this interesting topic. Dr. Samuel, good evening, sir. Okay. We also have Pastor Degoke. Good evening, sir.
Hello, ma. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. And we have a special guest in the house, all the way from Zimbabwe. We have barrister Edith Utete in the house. Edith is a cyber smart business and parenting coach and consultant, child protection expert, the founder of Digital Age Conversation and the Violet Room platform, award-winning best-selling author, trainer, and speaker with a passion for the commitment to help people to pick themselves up, find their way, and succeed on their own terms against all odds. She is a woman who believes in the power of technology to bring value to people's lives and support families and schools in navigating the digital world safely, securely, and responsibly. She is the founder of Violet Room Visual Academy, a community for digital moms to connect, learn, support, and upskill to increase their personal and professional brand in the cyberspace. She also supported a number of women in pursuing their book writing journey. Welcome, Edith Utete, to Real Men's Talk.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yes, we are so delighted to have you on Real Men's Talk. So, let's dive on into today's topic: the danger of 24th century parenting. Let me start from here. What are the dangers of 24th century parenting? I'm going to start with you, Edith.
Thank you. Thank you for starting off with putting me in the hot seat. Well, in the 21st century, we have had the blessing of something called digitalization and being in cyberspace. We now find ourselves having the earth becoming flat, where we are all on the same level, being able to access each other in real time. And with this great advantage and this new phenomenon that is happening, which is the fourth industrial revolution, we have found that there are so many threats and dangers to parenting because we now have a new kind of child that we are parenting, a child who has access to devices, who has access to information at all times of the day. I remember back in my country when I was growing up, after school we would go for sports, and after sports we would go to play, and after we come home, when we come home, we would take our bath and have dinner. And then you would watch television maybe for an hour, or if the parents were feeling generous, maybe 2 hours, and you go to bed. And it was so normal for us. And we expected to raise our children the same way. But now we've come into a space where when my child wakes up, they are connected, they have access to digital media. If they want to know what's on the news, they can look at all the different media channels, the news channels, and get the news. We only had one station that provided news for us, and it was at a designated time, which was 8 p.m. But now, anytime they've got that access to the information, they've got access even to each other and to other people all over the world. So what we find is that they become more vulnerable as well, despite those advantages of being connected to online risks through content, the kind of content that they're exposed to, the kind of contact that they're making, the conduct, what they do when they're online, and commercialization, because we all know that there's always someone trying to sell something or trying to get you to purchase something online. So this makes it even more difficult for us as parents, now that we have to be watching what our children are watching online, who they're talking to, what they are doing, how they are behaving themselves. And we know a lot of them have been misbehaving. And then whether or not they're going to be subjected to these violations of their rights as consumers, because they're actually underage to know a lot of the things that happen when you're now in the commercial area. So these are some of the things that we found to be really difficult for parenting 21st century children, including the risks of things like pornography, cyberbullying. You find there's grooming online, identity theft, and identity crisis as well. There's a lot of validation seeking. And when you look at the news that they get, there's a lot of fake news which cause a lot of distress and trauma to them, which it also comes back to us as parents, because we now have to manage these children who are experiencing so much trauma, experiencing so much confusion and so many mixed messages, which then also dilutes the values that we are trying to impart to them. So in a nutshell, I would say that is some of the challenges that we're experiencing as 21st century parents.
Thank you so much. I'll also want to stay with you so that we can exhaust these early minutes so that we can say, because we are 1 hour ahead of Zimbabwe. So I don't want to I'll keep you too late.
Okay.
So looking at you said earlier that we have the blessing of technology. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a good thing, but it comes with its disadvantages, like you have rightly put. Then we also have even parents spend more of their time on the social media. So they don't even really have much time to monitor those children. So how can parents be cyber smart parents, like one of your programs, and nurture cyber smart children?
So it's important to be informed, to know what your children are exposed to know which channels they're interested in, to know also, to educate yourself about social media sites. And sorry, there's some background. Oh yeah, okay. There's some background noise there. We also have to encourage our children to have critical thinking skills, so that they're not just passive consumers of digital media. They are able to look at things and question some things, and also form their own opinion about things, not to just take everything as it is. That will help them with their self-esteem and their confidence, and it will also help for them to not be swayed from the values that we have imparted to them as parents. So it's important for us to make sure that we have these ongoing conversations with the children and avoid being judgmental, avoid being preachy. I know that we grew up where parents would say, if they say a firm word to us, then that's it, and we would follow what they've said, even if we go and disagree with them. But now we're raising children who sometimes come and challenge the authority that we knew we had as parents. So the best way is to sometimes go down a few notches from what we're used to, how we were raised, and be able to have discussions where children feel encouraged to talk to you as a parent, and to see you more as a friend than somebody who's a judge and jury and prosecutor. So if they make mistakes, we need to be able to help guide them. And it's very important that they're comfortable with coming to us to tell us, this is the mistake that I've made and I need help. So that comes from that trust factor and the conversation being open, and you being able to be open and not judgmental. It's also important to just talk generally. I know when we talk about things to do with technology in the cyberspace, it sometimes feels complicated, but you are your child's parent. You know what your child is like. So sometimes you can tell that they're withdrawn, they're not themselves, maybe they're a little more aggressive than usual, and you can tell when something is off. So be the parent, continue to parent, and talk around the technology challenges generally. Be able to just ask, how are you finding this experience? Maybe watch the movies with them, play the online games with them, navigate the social media with them, and then have those general discussions about your values, your expectations, and what the children are actually doing, and find a way of putting that together. And then just accept that sometimes things can also be overwhelming for yourself. Be good to you. Don't try to take on too much. There's no harm in saying you don't have enough information, you don't know it all, you need help, even from the children themselves. Sometimes I get help from my own children with navigating cyberspace. So be sure to be human. Allow yourself to be human. And the last thing I'll just say is help them to establish boundaries and continue to give them the support that they need, especially when it comes to things like cyberbullying. You find the child is experiencing trauma. In our African culture, sometimes we don't really understand things like mental health, trauma. So we need to be able to support them and give them that ability to express what they're going through and to be comfortable talking to you as their parent. If they need help from professionals and you're able to afford it, please make sure to get help from professionals. If you are religious and you believe the church can help, you can go to your pastors or your ministers and they can also assist. If it happens within the school, you can go to the educators, your principals, your teachers. They can also be involved. I believe, in summary, that cyber smart parenting is not a one-man job. It's a community of people coming together and helping each other to be able to raise those children, because it really is not easy and the overwhelm is real. I think if we go back to our Africanness, where it takes a village to raise children, we would be in the right direction to do this thing, because no one of our generation has ever had to parent children who are always connected, and we don't have anyone to turn to for advice from the generations before us, because they didn't have to go through what we are going through.
Thank you so much. No, some of these things might be applicable to some parents that are educated like us. What about parents that are not, let's say they are not even techie, they are not Some of them, their children help them to manage their social media accounts. So all they know how to do on phone is to make call, receive SMS, and that's all. For parents like that, how can they be cyber smart parents? How can they guide their children to be cyber smart, despite they don't know anything about technology? Because these children can actually outsmart them. How should they
Oh,
handle such situation?
absolutely, you're right. The children are smarter than us. Even us, the experts, we still get outsmarted. What I would just advise is for parents who have no tech skills, the first thing is to just get even the most basic skills, which is to know the knowledge of what is out there. And this comes from having conversations with your child. You don't even have to go online to search about what your child is doing or what risks are there or what dangers are available. But what you do is you talk to your child, you get to know them more, and know what makes them excited about using technology. And do it in such a way that they also get excited about sharing with you what they know. So, like I said, a lot of what I know I have learned from my children. There's some platforms that I had no idea existed until they told me. So it's all in talking to them and just getting to understand. So what is it that is so enticing? What when you are there, who are you talking to? What do you talk about? And like I said before, if you have the opportunity to use those devices with them, then that is also another way where you can also learn. I'll give you an example of myself with the children when they do their schoolwork on their laptops. I have sat in with them sometimes during their lessons, sometimes when they're doing their homework, and I will learn from them how they do the presentation, the different platforms that they are using. And I ask questions. I'm always asking questions, which is what I would advise as well. Learning is limitless. There's no limit to learning. We continuously learn. So be open to learning. Be open to also exploring. Have that childlike curiosity to see what's going on with these things. What is it really about? What's so intriguing? I remember having a client once who said she would never go on Facebook because it was for kids. Meanwhile, when you go to the children, they will tell you Facebook is for old people. So sometimes we actually end up depriving ourselves of things that can have the potential to impact us positively because of maybe fear of failing or fear of making a fool of ourselves when we go on those platforms. But I would encourage us to explore what's in the digital world, explore how children are using it, and learn from them. Keep talking to the children. So you don't even have to have tech skills to talk to children and learn from them. And talk to other parents, be in communities with other parents. Um, there's always someone who knows something that you don't know. So that's another way to learn how to use the technology when you're not online. And if you've got questions about the parenting aspect of the digital world, then aside asking other parents, you can also consult the schools, you can consult the experts, professionals in that field if you have access to them.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Mr. Oluwalere, good to have you, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, listeners. Mrs. Eddie Tutete, you're welcome. How is Zimbabwe?
Zimbabwe is good, it's getting warm now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr.
So,
Oluwalere, let me
yeah.
hit you with this. I'm going to hit you with this. I was talking
Okay.
to a parent, somebody you know, and she told me that one of the mistakes she said she thought she made as a parent is giving her children phone earlier. that it's okay to give them laptop, but phone takes the whole time from them. So how do we put in digital minimization to parenting in the 21st century parenting? Digital minimization. How do we make our children, how do we do that to our children without making them feel my parents are lording things over me?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, even though we are in democracy, the fact that we are in democracy does not mean that we have to give them the full freedom. If you give them the full freedom, you will end up regretting it. In my house, what we do is everybody has phone. Even my little daughter that was just 7 2 days ago, she has a phone. But we have a time. Once it is 10 o'clock, we don't sleep early in my house. But once it is 10 o'clock, we retrieve the phone from them. You can't have access to it. If you say you minimize it, then you are denying them of so many things. So you have to leave the phone with them. But however, you have to control it. If you say you don't want to give them phone, then it means you are denying them of being part of the global village. So because of that, they have to use phone. Let me tell you one funny thing that may shock you. That was the day I was listening to a sermon from late Archbishop Idahosa. And I was enjoying the sermon, and it got to a point, they suddenly brought one funny advert. And I was trying to battle with it, do every sort of thing. My little baby just came, Daddy, why you do like this? Just skip. And she collected it from me, he skipped, and the advert went away. And I was enjoying my program. I learned something from her that day. If I had denied her from the beginning, I would have denied myself of that opportunity. So that should be time you give it to them, because we are in a global village. But however, that does not mean it has to do with them permanently. Let me tell you one funny thing. This period of holiday, I have registered the last 2. One is 7, one is about 12. I registered the 2 of them on book review. Every day they read a book, they review online, and they analyze and they reply. So if you are denying them the opportunity of having phone, how would they get those opportunities?
Thank you so much.
They have read, they record it, and they answer it. So you can't minimize it. I mean, you can't deny them, but you have to minimize it. Let it have a time that they can hold phone. Once it gets to that time, they have to drop it till the following day. I think that's the best way to do. You can't deny them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Simon, before I go to Barrister Edith, before I release her to go and attend to some other thing and retire for the day, I'm going to ask that we found that because of the exposure of children to some of this cyber garbage, the level of suicide in children, in teenagers, has increased over the years. So how can parents prevent that?
Thank you very much, Mama T.
Welcome, sir.
We are the last set of parents that we listen to our parents and also listen to our kids. When we are growing up, we spend our time listening to our parents, and now when we've grown, we are still listening to our kids, because so many things we witness the change of 2 millennium, the 20th century, 21st century. Most of us witnessed part of both millennium, and that's a bit challenging for us. Most of us just woke up to know that this cyberspace, woke up to the reality of the cyberspace that we are not ready to face. There's a lot of gamut of information in the cyberspace beyond what we could comprehend. And now we are struggling to meet up with the challenges of the cyberspaces, whereas our kids, they're already adapting to them. So we don't know that aspect of that aspect of parenting is not known to us. So we are thrown to the world, confused. How do we cope? Now, a child can go into the cyberspace and check anything you can know. There are how to make bomb, how to commit suicide, how to rob a bank, how to rape. I mean, anything you can think of is available when you Google it. How do we now control these people? There are different ways. Me, I will start by telling people that the first thing is for them to know the danger of the cyberspace. You have to talk to them. Let them know that, where you are going to, there are a lot of information there, but most of those information may not be helpful to you. Most of them may be injurious to your developmental milestone. In fact, you have to let them know that anything you could imagine, anything you could think of, just type it on, you will get it from the cyberspace. And that doesn't mean all those information should be utilized by you. That doesn't mean that those information should be digested by you. You should let them know that there are a lot of harmful information in the cyberspace. The second thing you now let them know, you now do is that, well, you must also learn how to manage your time when you get to cyberspace and where to go and where not to go. And cross-check at interval to be sure that they didn't go to where they shouldn't have gone to. Some other people have also said that there are some software you can install on their phone. You said it earlier on that laptop may be better than phone because the mobile phone can be with them for hours. They wake up and sleep with you, but they can't do that with a laptop. They have to switch it on. You have to carry it everywhere. Mobile phone, they can chat with anybody. They can link up with anyone in the cyberspace through the phone. So the next thing is that people have said, why can't you put in a software that will checkmate the activities in the cyberspace? And that's what some people are talking about now. With that software, someone was trying to discuss with us on a parent group. And what the software does is that anytime they want to get into some access, the software will get a clearance from you. And without that clearance, they can't go in. So at least that could serve as a check. Because if your child wants to go into maybe pornography now, it wants you, are you permitting so and so into pornography? You know that no. So you know that after that time, you need to sit the child down and tell the child that no, that's not a place for you to go. If you want to go into how to make bomb, it's going to checkmate that. So, and this can help a long way because it will make you know that, I'm not saying that if you are being alerted by the software, you should go and chastise the child or try to make the child look less than human. Because the truth of the matter is that the child can also buy. You know that for every check and balances, you can also circumvent it. So the child too can also circumvent that software. It can format the phone, and the phone will stop and look for a way to deactivate that software. So you must sit down and let the child reason with you. Let him see that I'm not trying to put you in bondage, but when there is time, you have enough time to go to anywhere you want to. But for now, for you to be safe, you have to be the confinement of something that they are not really guardrail. They are not really, restriction. They are guardrail so that you not fall into the dish. And apart from this, there are some other information available on the cyberspace too. Like you have your digital satellite television in which you may have to passport some parts. Even your phone, there are some parts of your phone you need to passport. You need to, create it, because if not so, a child will wake up. The next thing is reading is that how to effect terrorism in the community, and you'll be surprised it's available somewhere in the cyberspace. Think of how to plan a coup. It's available somewhere in the cyberspace. Someone would have written a book or a documentary or a research on it, and they will make it available. So the best bet you can do is not what has gotten to a point where everybody have access to this mobile phone. And those mobile phones are so sophisticated to the extent that they can access every information that your laptop can access. So you just have to know this. Even we parents that make use of internet facility, go into postgraduate training, teaching, and all those things, we don't still have some knowledge or some of some software the same way they do. That shows that we just need to up our game for us to be able to lead them right. Because a child left to himself. So if you leave a child to just wander in the cyberspace, it's going to come out with what so much terrible thing that you can never imagine. The best bet is talk to our child, and as much as possible, if there's any restriction that we could put on their cyberspace to prevent them from erring far away from where we wanted, at least that should be done. And at interval, we should revisit our interaction with them on cyberspace and reiterate the fact that cyberspace could actually be dangerous if it's not well harnessed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That's so informative. I'll eat it. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Maybe you might also want to talk about some other areas you think we have some dangers in 21st century parenting. You have any other area you would like to touch?
Yes, I think the areas besides what was just being talked about, where we are giving children access to devices without parental supervision and guidance. Another danger is for most of these children, what is happening is there's no longer that difference between the online and the offline, and what they see in digital media or even on television, or the games that they play online. They now see those things as reality. So for us as parents, we really have to be able to be open to them, to show them the differences between what they see and hear and what is real. Like when you talk about things like pornography, it's something that is not just coming from the children searching for it, it's also coming from other sources. Now you'll find that almost everyone is on WhatsApp, including children, especially after the pandemic hit. We had to use WhatsApp mostly for learning and communicating. And one of the things that I've come across in my line of work is that when children get hold of phones for school, sometimes they're those other naughty ones who have maybe older siblings, or they're someone that is sharing inappropriate material with them that they then share with others. And that becomes a challenge for us as parents, because sometimes your child is actually well behaved, but the people around them now can have
Bad influence.
influences, the peer pressure. So those things are things that have always been there. I remember when we were growing up, we were told, I don't want you to play with so and so because they don't go to the same church as us, or something. There was always something about values that our parents wanted to uphold. So those the decadence of society is now being accelerated because technology is a tool that makes it easier for children to be exposed to the things that were being talked about. Like if someone wants to make a bomb, if they want to rape, if they want to murder, they can get that information with the click of their device. So now these are some of those challenges that have always been there. The peer pressure and the bad influences, that has always been there, but it's now being accelerated and it's happening at a younger age. I've even worked with children who are as young as 8, 9, who are now doing the things that we only thought about doing when we were in our teens or even early 20s. Things like you find young children who are talking about dating. They're talking about one of the first sessions that I had with children. They told me about love triangles, and these children were aged 11 and 12. They were already telling me that they have had instances where they have fights over boys and girls, and they're talking about lovers at those ages. And because they're now also exposed to things that open up their minds to sexuality, and we've got all these different kinds of sexualities now that we didn't have in our time. So you get that. That's another challenge now, having to explain to them things that you yourself don't understand or you're not really that familiar with. And then another challenge is we ourselves as parents, because we are always now connecting also. We're always on our phones, whether we're working, we're learning, we're teaching, whatever we're doing. We have also sort of abdicated from our roles. Our children have expressed, the children that I work with, I've worked with them for the past 8 years. One of the greatest things that they've told me consistently is that parental attention is lacking. They feel the parents are too busy chasing money, chasing projects, socializing, whatever it is that they do. And it's something that has become, excuse me, it has become something that has made parenting even more difficult, because when you are absent, you miss some things, like what I was saying earlier, that when you know your child, you can tell if something is off. But when you're not there to see, or even if you're physically present, but mentally, emotionally, and absent, that child can sense it. And that's when you get children rebelling, you get children going to other people for support and information and guidance. So it then seems like parenting is now even more difficult for you, but we also have a role to continue to play. We now actually have to be more in tune with our parenting role. I think there's more pressure on our generation of parents because there's more coming to our children through media, through the lifestyles, the shift in culture, the shift in values. Even when you look at religion, there are a lot of things that have shifted from the time in a very short space of time. I can actually count the years that things were absolutely different from what they are right now. And so we have to be more involved, more intentional about our parenting, and get to know our children more, get to know what their needs are, get to know what dangers they're facing out there, what pressures they are facing, the pressure to be liked, the pressure to be validated. This is something that also affects especially the young girls, the pressure to make money and have money and be connected to people who have money. I've seen that has been another really big challenge, because you now find young children who are prostituting themselves for the sake of money. You find the young men who get into these illicit activities just to make money. So we really have to be more involved and get more support, because no one can do this alone. It is a really big challenge for all of us. And I'm really glad we have platforms such as these ones, where we talk about these things and help each other as parents. I've actually learned quite a lot myself tonight. So thank you.
Thank you so, so much. I will have to let you go, but before you go, in a nutshell, I want you to tell our viewers, the parents at home, both male and female, what your advice, so that they can nurture or prevent their children from being the victim of the negative impact of technology in 21st century. And secondly, I want you to tell us about your program, the Cyber Smart Parents Nurturing Cyber Smart Children.
Okay. Thank you. On the first part, I think the one thing that I can talk about for parents is build resilience in your children. These children, we can't really fully control, even with the software that we talked about, even with us being watchful and guiding them and showing them the values that we want them to follow. There will be somewhere where they will slip. There's somewhere where we might just lose them if for a moment or a little longer. So we need to always guide them forth, prepare them for those situations where we are not there. Build that resilience, build the self-esteem, build the confidence for them to be able to say no to things that they know are not right. I had my father, when I went away from home to go to boarding school, one thing that he told me was, if something makes your stomach churn, walk away from it. And he sat me down and said, I will not always be with you out there in the world, but when you go out, you know that we have values, and we love that you have always been a child who follows what we teach you for the most part. So this is something that you can also do. You, as parents, you know your children better, and you've got your ways of communicating with them. And I would also say children are different. So you can't have a generalized talk with, like I've got 4 of them. I actually make time to have the generalized talks with all of them, but also find time for one-on-ones with each of them as a mom, and the dad also does the same with them. And that helps us to be able to support the children more, and in making sure that those values remain intact, that resilience when they are faced with whatever is thrown at them in the dangerous, dark, unregulated world called cyberspace, they will be able to say no to certain things and even become advocates for others. I will tell you, it's not all doom and gloom with these children. I've even worked with children who, when they see cyberbullying, they stand up to it, they raise alarm bells, they find people who can support them to make sure that other children are not cyberbullied. They stand up to the cyberbullies and they speak against those kind of practices. So you need your children also to be able to be those children who are brave enough to say no to things that are wrong, and resilient to be able to withstand whatever influence can come their way, and still stand on the values that have been set in them. So that when you're not there, because sometimes it's not even about us being away for other responsibilities. We have to consider what will happen if, in the undesired event, that you're not there for life, when you're not there anymore on the earth. What will happen? So this is one of the things that we talk about in the Cybersmart parenting program, where we are looking not just at those risks, and we look into the risks that the children are facing. We look into the parental role. We look into the available solutions for parents. We also look at those children who are using technology, well, how you can divert their attention, because technology is not going away, and these children are, like what was said earlier, they are not going to be discouraged from using the technology.
The technology is advancing and they're learning faster than the parents.
Yes, certainly. So what we can then do is to support them. So what we do in the program is we give you tools and things that won't overwhelm. We actually have a slogan to say, ditch the overwhelm, because I know there's so much overwhelm. We're trying to raise the children, to make money, to deal with COVID, and all the other things that life throws our way as parents, and then we've got this added responsibility. So the Cybersmart parenting program is teaching you to parent smarter, not harder. So you're just parenting, giving you those tools and strategies for you to be able to do it better. And then when you look at the children who are using the tech, for example, those who are social media influencers and they're making money from that, how you can support them. They will need someone to also help to manage their finances, to manage their exposure, to manage when there's failure along on the way to success. So building that resilience and building the confidence as well, and then protecting your digital assets for you as a parent. We give you that support as a parent and the children as well. So this is like a really wholesome program for the entire family, so that everybody is able to get some value out of what cyberspace has to offer and be able to protect it as well.
Thank you so much. So how do parents that are interested in your program, how do they reach you? What platform can they get to you, or where can they contact you?
I am available on Facebook with the name on the screen, Edith Butete, and on Instagram, Twitter, and on LinkedIn. So they can reach me on any of those platforms. I will share my website is edithbutete.com, but it's still it's got some maintenance issues currently. But if you send me a message in my inbox, I will be able to respond and assist with that. And if they connect with me on my Facebook pages or any of my socials, they'll be able to be updated on any of the programs that will be running, because we have something every month. And sometimes we have a day session or 2-week sessions, and as well as 6-week sessions. So as long as you are able to connect with me on any of those platforms, I will be able to give you the information depending on which area you need help with. Another aspect that I just left out is digital reputation management. That's another aspect that we also talk about in the programs. Digital reputation is something that is really important, because you've seen how sometimes people hack into other people's accounts and you fail to control what people are saying by using your name and your profile. So those are some of the things that we also assist with in the program.
Thank you so much. Please, you can put the link to the program and your contact on the comment section. We are so delighted to have you on Real Men's Talk, and we hope to have you again on another beautiful episode. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So we are back in the house. My people, Mr. Oluwalere and Dr. Samuel. So let's get back to the other reasons or other dangers that parents in the 24th century can encounter. So let's look at the issue of unemployment. How has it affected 24th century parenting? Mr. Oluwalere.
Thank you, Mama T. So goes the word that says, an idle hand. An idle hand is the devil's workshop. Yeah. How does unemployment affect the children in this era of digitalization or whatever? It is crystal clear that if a child who has finished from school has a job, very early in the morning he goes to the office. He doesn't come back early. Even if he comes early, he will be tired. He will need to rest. He will need to do one thing or the other, domestic or whatever. But a child who has finished from school, who doesn't have anything he does, he has 24 hours to himself. The parents cannot be with him or her for 24 hours. So therefore, when the parents are not there, you give them the room to begin to do so many things they will not have done if he has a job. That's one. Two, you give him that leverage to mix up with different people. Three, you give him the opportunity of chatting up Some people he doesn't even know about or before. So you discover unemployment would definitely affect all this issue of parenting. But if they have job, that shouldn't say they will not access the IT or whatever, but it will be minimized because a lot of their time would have been devoted to their job rather than devoting it on things that are not important or less important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. See, let's look at get rich quick scheme all over the place. How has it affected parenting in this 21st century? And how can parents nurture children who will understand the value of hard work, patience, and consistency? Dr. Samuel?
Thank you very much, Mama T.
Welcome, sir.
It is well known that shortcut is the order of the day. Everybody wants money. Everyone wants to blow. We want to make be like Otedola within 2 months, and that's get rich quick syndrome. No, we believe that the end justifies the means. Just get the money anyhow, somehow, no how, just get the money. And it has really changed our core value for hard work, for dedication, for integrity, for dignity. Those ones are gone because get the money and nobody cares how the money comes by. So far you have the money, you will be respected. It has still a lot in our setting. And someone said that when you get to a society or a setting, how do you know what is spirit and what they worship? Look at the people that they hold in high esteem in our society. Who do we hold in high esteem in our society? They are not the hardworking people. They are not actually the hardworking people. They are the people that are somehow they found a way of getting money. Nobody knows where to get their money from. And it's affecting even the hardworking people. Because the question people have asked is that what has hard work contributed to me? What has been to school? What has it added to me? Who school help? And when you see young people start making such statements,
Oh, good boy, help.
Who good for help? Who school help? Someone told me how the case of Boko Haram started. That the man that started Boko Haram went to school, and his friend that went to Amajiri school, that didn't even go to any school, from becoming Amajiri, he graduated from Amajiri, became a councillor, I mean a local government chairman, by chance or by providence or so. What he was happening was changing his father's house. And this guy have gone to school, he didn't have money. I said, well, I think Boko Haram, I think this website education is a cheat. How will I go to school with all this academic award and I can't afford anything? And this boy, Amajiri school, is doing this. And that ideology alone in the north, the Boko Haram, is ravaging the north just because society misunderstood what hard work is all about. So the get rich quick syndrome has destroyed our system that nobody cares how you get your money. Nobody cares how if you work for it or not.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Oluwalere, let's look at how we can say that when I was chatting at the backstage with Ida the other time, I was talking about the restriction on parents in chastising children and the difference we have in modern time. Now, she was telling me that in Zimbabwe, that if you, up to now, that if you still beat a child, your neighbor will come out and join you and beat the child. But those things are no longer applicable in the current day, especially here in Nigeria, in the Western world. So how does the restriction on parents from chastising children, or else it will be called child abuse. How has that affected parenting in the 21st century? And how can we avoid that so that that will not be a disadvantage in nurturing godly children? Mr. Oluwalere.
Well, thank you very much, Auntie Amati.
Thank you,
The
sir.
educationists will tell you, spare the child. I be spare the rod
Spare the rod.
and spoil the child.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what is happening now. A child does something, you can't kill him or her. In school, you are not expected to touch cane. You are not expected to do anything. And that's why the moral decadence has gone high, so high now. I remember when I was during my own secondary school days, the military men are put in schools to checkmate the students. If you fumble, they catch you, they beat hell out of you. And there was still moral standard then. But right from the day this particular policy came into being, you can't beat, you can't do this, there have been a falling standard of education, falling standard of morals, and what have you. I was reading online today, casually, where a girl that was in one secondary school, I think Immaculate, they call it in Ekiti State. They shaved her hair. If you see the way the haircut she had, I think she was a mad person. And the teacher beat her, only to go back home to tell her parents. The father, who happens to be a policeman, went and told about 3 or 4 of his friends, and they came to the school to cause a lot of problems. As I'm talking to you, I understand the case. The government is handling the case. This is what this policy of not killing the children has come up with. Gone are the days whereby when you offend, either your parents is there or not, once they discover you are wrong, they beat you. And when you tell the parents, they are so happy about it. But now you don't touch them. All of this policy of sparing the rod and spoiling the child. And you see the child being involved in all those things every day because he or she knows the policy has been formulated that you can't beat it or her.
Yeah.
And that's what has caused everything now. If that opportunity has been there and you know you do something like that, they will kill you and they give you punishment. I remember when I was doing the secondary school days, they told me to go and uproot a palm tree as a punishment. You know what it is to uproot a palm tree? They told me to go and clean gutter. We call it gedebu in school. If you uproot a palm tree once, you won't like to go back to it again. So because of that, you checkmate yourself. Because of that, you are being careful. Because of that, you comfort yourself. But now, they know whatever they do, nobody will beat them. If you beat them, is in trouble. I was told this week that a commissioner visited a school in Lagos. He saw a teacher holding cane, and he was not using the cane for anything. He was also holding one casual cane, and he was issued a query. To me, that is nonsense. That was the beginning of the falling of standards in Nigeria. And not until we go back to those old days, we will begin to have more of this decadence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, we understand that beating a child is not the only way we can correct them. And we also understand that in those days, some parents over flog beaten, and children were actually abused. So in this modern time, where parents are encouraged to use other means to chastise, to correct, and instruct their children, Dr. Samuel, how should parents make good use of this pattern of not beating, of you have to use other method to make your children do the right thing without using cane?
Can you come over with the question? I can't get the question clearly.
It's been flogging children in the olden days sometimes can be abused. In fact, a lot of time it's been abused. So in this modern days, where parents are discouraged from beating their children, how do one take advantage of that so that it will not be on the disadvantage because you don't beat your children? How can we still nurture godly children that will follow the instruction of the parents without being beaten?
Thank you very much, Mama T.
Thank you, sir.
Do I know that the Western religion or Western education is talking against beating children, flogging them? But there is a place for flogging children.
You're sounding a little far distance, Dr. Samuel. I don't know if it's from my hand.
Okay, let me sort that out.
A lot louder now, very clear, loud and clear now.
So I know that flogging a child is abuse, and some authorities have said that we should avoid flogging, that it has a way of demoralizing the child. But the Bible also said that we should spare the rod and spoil the child. So we don't need to spare the rod, but don't let it be the only way. I flog, but it is occasional. And by the time I'm going to flog you, you know that you must have done something very, very wrong. I can threaten you with cane. I'd rather threaten you more than to flog you more. Threaten you with cane that I will flog you, but I will flog you less. But that doesn't mean that when need be, I will not use the cane, because I know that cane, when you expose a child to too much of the cane, it get used to the cane, and the cane start losing its meaning or its intensity. Okay. That's the truth. So when you need to flog, please, you flog. When you need to threaten, you have to threaten. When you need to explain something, you need to do that. So everything will not just be, it must be cane. No. You have to balance it up. When you need to flog, when you need to threaten, when you need to warn, when you need to give some other punishment, you have to balance it so that the child will not just see it as if get used to cane, because a time coming which the child can actually get used to cane and feel is no more than the cane. And at that point, that punishment will become less sensitive or less useful for that child. You still have to balance everything. You talk to the child, because a brother of mine said something. He said that a time will come, you won't be able to flog that child again. So is it that time you now suddenly change to talking? So you must change. You must have been employing all that means of chastising the child, correcting the child, not only cane. The cane will be occasional, and if you must cane, let the child know why you have to cane that child. Thank you very much. Hope I've answered your question.
Yes. Mr. Valerie, 20th century parents, our own parents, provide choices and give us directions. However, the 21st century parents beg and negotiate with their children. What is the implication of that to parenting and to the children themselves?
Thank you. It still boils down to the fact of sparing the rod and spoiling the child. Why should you negotiate? Are they your masters? Why should you negotiate? If they are wrong, they are wrong. Truly, it's not Cain alone you can use in punishing children. But be that as it may, negotiating with them is the same thing as spoiling them. When they are wrong, they are wrong. Deny them some opportunities if they are wrong. You can ask them to punish. You can ask them to do scrap stands. You can ask them to touch the floor with their toe and raise their leg up. You can deny them of food sometimes. You can ask them to go and do extra work. Those are punishments. But the idea of negotiating, why should I negotiate with you? I can only negotiate with you if I want to encourage you. If you come first, I will kill you chicken. I will do this. Those are the negotiations I can do. But the negotiations that because if you don't do this, I will buy you this. No, I will never do it. It's wrong. It's still a way of pampering children. To me, I don't subscribe to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Samuel, you know that Mr. Oluwalere is more of 20th century parents. It's just unfortunate he has some younger ones. I'm sure those children are not finding it easy. So for people, those of us, we have found ourselves in the 21st century, and the way things are going, we don't have choice than to adapt the 21st century pattern of parenting to nurture these children. What's your advice for parents in the midst of begging and negotiating with children to make sure that you get the best out of them? Dr. Samuel.
Number T.
Mr. Oluwalere is 20th century father. Please talk to 21st century parents.
You are the last generation that will listen to our parents like Mr. Oluwalere. I will still listen to our children. And sometimes it could be frustrating that when I was growing up, my parents would give instruction and I dare not change it. And now my children will tell me what they want and I will start negotiating to come out of it. Well, it's even better in our client. In some other client, I know of a Cameroonian that lost both parents. You know why she lost both parents? Something happened in the family. They were in UK. They reported to call the authority. That was about 20-something years ago. And they took both child away from the family. They didn't allow access of the father to the family at all. The mother occasionally. They grew up with foster children. Now they are parents themselves. You mentioned it to someone, but do you want to say the details of what transpired that led to that? The truth is that those parents, after being frustrated, went back to Cameroon and they've lost their lineage forever. See, if we are still in this part of the world, it's when you can tell me that perhaps it's all the same. But over there, in the school every morning, they walk through the world, they show them different picture of facial expression. So if your child should make a comment that any of those expressions is what you make at home, they investigate you. If you are found guilty, you can lose your child to government, to foster parents. But if you are here, you can do anything. You can beat up a child, molest the child, and nobody will do anything. So sometimes when my colleagues, even if you are reported, the things may not even go anywhere. Have I finished taking care of my child? Not talk of taking care of a foster child. But there, they can take you to a foster home. And someone else said something that the foster home there, they made it so conducive that the child will not even remember the parents. In fact, that Cameroonian said that the foster home they took them to was a perfect home for them. I mean, she said that it was a perfect home that no problem. Everything they whoever needed was there. So they couldn't even remember the faces of their parents. That's the
agony. A family friend was telling me that the son was frustrating her so that she could do things that will make them take the children away from her.
we foster home.
in
So
the
when you
UK.
find yourself in such pain, you have to continue negotiating. It's a battle that you cannot win because the society will not make you win that battle. If you use force, apply force, I can bet it's you that will fold, not them. It's you, the parent, that will fold. So sometimes you have to just continue petting them, negotiating, trying to explain to them, trying to preach to them. Why? Because you're not ready to lose your kids. You will lose them. And government doesn't care about that. All what they care about is the right of those children. And we know in Africa, parents are on some other client. So for a 20th century parenting, oh, that's wonderful. You use force and you will win. And those child will bow to the pressure. But 21st century, and you are out of the shore of this country, you will lose those parents, those children. You cannot win with force. You just have to negotiate. Because we found out this is where we found ourselves. This is where we can win. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Oluwalere, you are a 20th century man, but you have 21st century children. But you realize that one, we have to persuade these 21st century children to buy into the right idea. Sometimes we throw gifts and opportunities at them, which could result to self-indulgence and sense of entitlement. So, what's your advice for parents? How do we prevent our children from becoming overdependent and help them develop capacity to deal with life's challenging? The life challenges.
How do you help them? Well, this issue of over-pampering the negotiation that you are talking of, well, to me, maybe I would say it's not divine. You negotiate with an adult, not children, not youths that are just developing. Negotiating with them is like pampering them. If they are matured enough, maybe some who has finished from school, those ones, well, to some extent, we may say, okay, there's someone that is just growing up, maybe in secondary school, in JSS or just SS. No. It depends on the way everybody treats his or her children. To me, I will still repeat it. There are some things you need to let them know. There are some trainings you need to impart on them. There are some books you need to give them to read. And there are some times you need to sit them down and tell them the realities of life. Why they need to do some things, why they need not to do some things, why they need to comfort themselves. Was it here or was it in the social media I was reading it, whereby a man of 12 years did something wrong and he was jailed. He never left the prison until 80-something years. That means they have wasted the life of that man for years. Something like that story, let the children hear it. Let them hear it. Give them some books to read, even some Bible references, refer them to it. To me, well, I don't subscribe to this pampering of a teen or negotiation, except maybe the person is matured and is grown up. So if you want them to at least to do all these things or to get trained, let them go for some seminars, let them listen to some, sit them down at times, let them listen to some things, some stories together with you. Let the two of you sit down and analyze. Tell them the story of your life. Tell them, I know, I'm sorry to use this language or this example. I know wherever Chidima is today, will be regretting her action. And I know the parents too will be regretting it. But it's too late. Too late to die when the head is cut off. And I am sure It must have been this issue of pampering that have brought her to that level where she is. So let these children know this. Pampering, to me, it's not in my dictionary. I don't like it. It's not a good thing, except it's the mature person who has finished. I may pamper you if you tell me, okay, your result just come out, it's okay. Okay, I'm going to buy this one for you. If it is those words, good. But that you don't want him or her to do something wrong and you are negotiating. No. It doesn't find anywhere in my dictionary. Thank you.
Thank you so much. On that note, Dr. Samuel, you said something and you said it over and over. It can be, so let's look at it that it can be mentally challenging when you, as an adult, when you were growing up, you listen to your parents and you're still listening to them. But because of the change in our world, you have to listen to your own children. So how should people in this stage strike the balance?
Hello. Yes,
hello, sir.
Strike the balance. Yes, listen to my kids and listen to my parents. Yes,
it can be mentally, because as you're an adult and your parents will still want you to listen to them. So yes. How do we manage this mental issue? It can be frustrating at times.
You just have to face the reality of life. And that's the reality. Reality has dawned on us that we need to listen to both. I know I said it earlier. We witnessed 2 million lives, 20th century, 21st century, and there is no way. We just have to cope, learn to cope, and listen to both parties. We are just like the link between our parents, between the last generation and the grandchildren. We are in between, trying to solve. There's something we can do about it. Is to learn how to adapt to the system in which we found ourselves. Thank you, Mama T.
Thank you so much, sir. That's amazing. We are the last generation that listened to our parents, and we are the first generation that listen to our children. It's a challenging situation. And finally, on today's episode, our time is fast spent. I am going to ask, like Barrister Edith said, that you are not there for life. You're not going to be there for life. On this note, what effort should 21st century parents make to ensure their parents can make the right and informed decision in their life? I'll first go to Mr. Oluwalere. We are closing on that note. That's the final word for today.
Can I have the question again? The question again, sorry.
You are not always there, and you cannot always be there. So what effort should 21st century parents make to ensure their children can make right and informed decision in their life, even when you're not there?
Good. The effort is, let them see stories of those who have made it. Not the story or the BB Naija thing. No. Let them see the story, the life stories of children that have made it. Let them hear their stories. Let them read about how they started, why they are where they are. If they begin to dance BB Naija from the beginning, they won't make it the way they are making it. Let them know this. Look, if you Google, you see a lot of stories. Is it been counseling? Let them listen to. Give them those books to read. Let them know. There are so many books like that. Let them read. Talk to them. That if you have a settled mind, if you are patient, if you are this, you will eat the fattest bone. So those are the efforts you put on. I don't say it should be constant chastisement. No. Sit them down at times. You tell them life stories. Bring the Bible. Tell them stories like Joseph. Bring some other novels. Let them read. and that will form part of positive impact in their lives. I think those are the efforts you can bring in, and you see. The issue is you don't have to be harsh with them at all times. There are some beautiful moments to have with them. You can even carry them out occasionally, buy things, visit some places. When you come back, sit them down. They will be ears on the ground to listen to you. Those stories, you can read it together. Let them know what it feels to be patient. Let them know what it feels to be responsible. Let them know the aftermath effect of being responsible. Let them know the aftermath effect of being attentive to their parents. And you see it will change their lives. There are many people who will be the one that will encourage their children to listen to BB Naija. There are many children, many parents that will even be the first. I have visited some homes very early in the morning. They are watching African Magic. That is rubbish. That's trash. I don't say they cannot watch films. But why should somebody wake up early in the morning, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? The first thing they are watching is BB Naija. That is trash. So those are the efforts you can put in to encourage them, and you will see your children. You let them know those people don't have 2 heads, and they make it. Especially because if they listen to that story, look at what he has gone through, look at where he is today. I think those ones will change them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Samuel, over to you. I also wanted to include how we can help them to be independent in the issue of over pampering them, giving everything to them. How can we help them to be independent?
Thank you very much, Mama T.
Thank you, sir.
There is something that is inspiring life, a true life story. You have to tell them your own story. Sometimes it can be like a fairy tale. Most of them don't know how you grew up. You just know you are here. You have to let them know what you passed through, what you've been through, how you got to where you are now, and what is the plan for them. So that in case you are not there tomorrow, they will know the genesis. This is where our father was coming from. This is what he has passed through. This is where he handed over to us. This is what we passed through, and this is the future. And with that, there can still be linkages between your own life and their life. And let them know that in all, integrity still matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful time on this topic, but I want you to always remember that you should encourage your children to develop critical thinking. They should form their own opinion of things. And also, we as parents should be more intentional about our parenting and prepare them for the situation when you are no longer there. So on this note, we are going to wrap up on the topic, the danger of 21st century